maybe northwest of Detroit. We have heard about a shooting at a synagogue there. We'll bring you that live as well as we get a closer look at the scene there. Also, of course, here at home, we have to continue to talk about our forecast. A lot going on in the weather department as we head into the weekend. So, again, we'll have those stories coming up at 1 o'clock. We'll be right back.
If you
Hello there. It is Thursday, March 12th, and this is the afternoon shift. I'm Adam Lorenz. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We have an absolutely jam-packed show for everybody. Some live events, some in-studio guests, some Zoom guests, a little bit of everything here at the afternoon shift as we take you all the way to the Fox 9 News at 5 o'clock today. I am joined by our producer, Grace Henry, who is up in the booth. Grace, what's going on? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We're matching with our blue today, and
yes.
It's a good theme for our show. We've got a lot of congruency, a lot of symmetry happening here. It's gonna be a great show, I think.
It will. We have a lot going on, and I just want to put on our radar. There is a podium up. We are not exactly sure if it will be President Trump or if someone else will speak. We believe it might be about the situation in Michigan at the synagogue. So I'll keep you guys updated as we learn more about whatever live events are happening. We don't know many details about it, but I just want to put on everyone's radar just in case we have to do a quick change of plans. But yeah, it's been a good day. There's a lot of news, especially, for the last few weeks, we've been going to the legislative session and listening in, and today's no different. There are 3 big bills that are being voted on today, and maybe you can fill everyone in on what those bills are.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to kind of piggyback on what Grace said there about potentially President Trump or some other official speaking about a synagogue attack that happened in Michigan today. If you're unaware, there was an armed man who rammed a vehicle into a Michigan synagogue. If you're familiar with the Detroit suburbs, it was West Bloomfield, and he was fatally shot by security. There's a lot more information that's being let in right now. The synagogue is Temple Israel in West Bloomfield Township, Michigan, just outside Detroit on the city's west side. So when we have more information on that, or if somebody is speaking about that live, we will be sure to bring you that as it happens with you. Now, just to kind of set up the rest of the show today, after this first segment, we're going to be joined by Fox 9 sports anchor Dawn Mitchell. The Vikings hosted Kyler Murray today here in Minnesota. Of course, the Vikings looking to create a little bit of a quarterback competition with J.J. McCarthy going into next season. Kyler Murray, 2-time Pro Bowl selection, former Heisman Trophy winner at the University of Oklahoma, has been with the Arizona Cardinals his entire career and is now a free agent. The Vikings seem to be the favorites to land him, and the hosting him today as a clear indicator of how much interest they have. Yes.
I just have a question. Why would they release him as a free agent? Like, what is the reason for that? It seems like he's a pretty good player. Like, why would you do that rather than just trading him directly to a different team?
Yeah, and these are, it gets into kind of contract situations, and in terms of like years and money, I'm not that well versed. I do know that the relationship with the Cardinals had been severed a little bit. He had been kind of injured, and there were some questions about his commitment and work ethic too. So it just seemed like everybody just needed a clean slate. He needed a fresh start. The Cardinals needed a fresh start as well, and so they just decided to drop him and send him into free agency, and hopes to put him on some other team here, so to take on all of his responsibility. So it could be a good match for the Vikings. The Vikings would like to have a quarterback with a little bit more of a veteran experience. Kyler Murray's been in the league 6-7 years, and so that would be a good sort of primer to bring in. Also a quarterback that has played in an indoor environment out there in Arizona, indoor stadium, and he's going to get the exact same thing here in Minnesota. But make no mistake, Kyler Murray is not coming to Minnesota if he does decide to come to Minnesota. Kyler Murray is not coming here to be J.J. McCarthy's backup. He is going for the starter position. So that'll be a very interesting storyline that plays out this offseason if, in fact, Kyler Murray does sign with the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear more about what you and Don have to say about this because I'm a little, like, the whole situation is a little bit confusing, so I'm excited to learn more.
Absolutely. And we're learning more about Kyler Murray just as with everybody at home is as well. So more to come on that with Don Mitchell right after this segment. Grace mentioned us throwing it to the Minnesota House of Representatives. They're really going to be talking about two primary things. The first of which is they have continued to honor former Speaker of the House, Melissa Hortman. Of course, she and her husband were assassinated this past summer. There is a bill to name Minnesota's Community Solar Garden Program after her. Hortman chaired the House Energy Committee during the 2013-14 legislative session, and apparently it was one of her favorite roles in her time within the Minnesota State House. So this bill would name Minnesota's Community Solar Garden Program after her. The other big House file that's going to be in discussion is supportive housing to grant funding for supportive housing for people. Supportive housing, it's affordable rental housing that includes services which support residents in improving their quality of life. So Minnesota representatives are going to be talking about these two House files today, and when those discussions begin happening inside the State House, we will be bringing that to you live, and we're going to watch it with you, right with you all at home. So that is that. Then after that, we're going to be talking about Women's History Month. Grace will actually be stepping from outside the booth and joining me right here inside Studio 9. There are two ladies that she has picked out to really profile and highlight for Women's History Month. Excited to hear more about that. Then after that, liquor licenses in nursing homes. There was a clip that went viral yesterday. This was discussed about potentially bringing happy hours inside elderly care facilities. We're going to be replaying that clip and kind of chatting about what liquor would look like inside nursing homes. What are the pros and cons of that? That'll be in the 4 o'clock hour. And then to round out today's show, some news from the Vatican. Pope Leo himself has honored a Faribault Catholic grade school principal. She's been at Divine Mercy School for 37 years, and now she is receiving a papal award. What an honor. We're going to be talking to that grade school principal from Faribault right here on the afternoon shift at 4:30. So that is the show today. Like Grace and I have said, completely jam-packed, and we're excited to bring you all 2 hours of the afternoon shift. Let's get into some headlines for the day. We're going to start with the weather outside, and if you're hanging on to your hat or your coat, you're not alone. Much of the state is experiencing not just crazy winds, tropical storm force winds that are in the state right now ahead of a weekend storm that could bring half a foot of snow or more to the Twin Cities in southern Minnesota. These winds outside, Grace, they're blowing between 30 and 40 miles per hour, and some gusts are as high as 65 miles per hour. This is crazy.
That's crazy. I just kind of wanted to show you. We have a traffic camera outside that has just been shaking, and usually it's pretty still. So we can take a look here, and
wow.
it's just been kind of shaking. I think that's from the wind. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it's buffering. So yeah, these winds are pretty crazy. I haven't really been outside too much today, so I haven't felt them, but I'm sure I drive a little two-door car, so I'm sure I'll be able to feel it on my way home.
Yeah, that is that is pretty telling right there, just to see the sheer power and force of those winds right now. The traffic camera literally shaking there on 694. So
yeah, it's making me dizzy. Though,
that is crazy. So everybody, hang on to your hat. Do what you got to do, and obviously this weekend it looks like there could be some snow, not just moving into the Twin Cities metropolitan area, but really statewide as well. Let's stick right here in Minnesota. We're going to celebrate a Paralympian. Sydney Peterson from Lake Elmo, Minnesota, won the women's 10 kilometer, cross-country skiing gold medal at the Paralympic Winter Games happening right now in Milan. The Paralympics traditionally happening a week after the Olympic Games. Sydney Peterson, she's 23 years old, and this was her second medal of the Games. She also won a silver medal on Tuesday for the standing cross-country sprint. And as if training for the Paralympics wasn't enough, Sydney Peterson is also pursuing a PhD in neuroscience right now. Congratulations to you, Sydney Peterson. You are a gold medalist at the Milano Cortina Paralympics, and you are one of our own from right here in Lake Elmo, Minnesota. Okay, let's stick with sports now. The Gophers men's basketball team, their season is officially over. They lost last night to Rutgers, knocking them out of the Big Ten tournament and completely diminishing their NCAA tournament chances, which means if you're keeping score at home here in Minnesota, this is going to be the 7th straight season that there will not be a school from Minnesota represented in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. I want to give a shout out to the Minnesota women's basketball team. They will be in the NCAA tournament. Different bracketologists have put them at different sort of seeding numbers. I see some at 3, some at 4, some at 5. We're going to find out on Sunday night where the Minnesota women are going to be in the women's basketball tournament, but you will not be seeing the men. They might be in the NIT or whatnot, but they will not be in the NCAA tournament. All right, we were just talking about Kyler Murray. Don Mitchell is in the house. We're going to throw it to commercial break, and we're going to find out, could we be potentially looking at the starting quarterback for the Vikings week 1 next season? More on that right after this. Don't go anywhere. Inside Studio 9. It's a big day for the Purple and Gold. They are hosting Kyler Murray today at Vikings HQ. And inside Afternoon Shift HQ, we have Fox 9 sports anchor Don Mitchell, Vikings beat reporter, insider, and you got the latest scoop with Kyler Murray, yeah?
Well, you know, like I said with Amy when I was on her all-day show, like we're just waiting for the white smoke to come out again, right? That's what we always say every single time there's a new coach or a starting quarterback, or in this case, later on will be who they're going to announce for the GM. But we have to wait and see. So all reports are that Kyler Murray is here at some point today, going to meet with the Vikings. From what I can hear from Arizona's camp, Kyler is looking for a starting spot. He wants to start. And so he's willing to be behind someone and then start in 2027. So what are the Vikings going to promise him is the question, because they also still do have J.J. McCarthy. I know before this started, you and I were chit-chatting, and if you get a guy like Kyler Murray and you want him in your camp, you know, what do you do with the J.J. McCarthy at that point? Is he going to learn from him? And so it's quite an interesting thing to happen. I know that the Vikings want to push to sign him from all sources that we hear coming out of the building. But what does Kyler want? Because he might hear everything he wants to hear from the Vikings today, but he'll probably do his due diligence and meet with a couple of other teams, whether it be the Rams to be behind Matthew Stafford, whether it's the Colts to find out what's going on with Daniel Jones. I mean, you just don't know, and I think as a free agent, you have to be able to do that. But he can make a football decision because either way, he's going to make $36.8 million anyway. And not from the Vikings.
Right, from the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cardinals are going to pay that. He's coming in on the minimum at $1.3 million, which don't you wish that was our minimum?
I would love that was mine.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'll go play football somewhere. But anyhow, so he can make a purely football decision. And when you look at who he has to throw the ball to, that would make any quarterback who can throw like he can.
Sure.
He has the accuracy. He can extend plays. He has the knowledge. He has the experience. Now, I said earlier, Kevin O'Connell might have to work with him and whisper a little bit and adjust some passing lanes because he's only 5'10".
Right.
He's, Doug Flutie, although Doug Flutie is 5'9" 3/4", I believe. But still, he has that accuracy and the experience to get that ball to the likes of Justin Jefferson, big tight ends. Jordan Addison, obviously Naylor is gone now, but, he's got a lot of weapons.
For sure. You talk about accuracy, 67% career completion percentage, and lots of rushing. He's small frame, but can run the ball. He would look really good in that Vikings offense.
That's what I mean, extend plays,
that's right.
and buys guys some time or do a little RPO action. I mean, you just don't know what the end. I'm going to say he has endless capabilities. So you just don't know as an opposing defense what this guy is going to do, because he can escape pressure. He can do whatever he wants to do. So he has those talents that I think fit really well with the Vikings right now. So now I think it'll be up to, supposedly the Vikings are his favorite landing spot. But how do these conversations go? And if they say yes, we'll let you start in 2027, or, we need to do competition for J.J. McCarthy. And just because, let's just say.
Okay.
Let's just say they say yes.
Yep.
Kyler, you're going to start for us. That does not mean that JJ is done.
Yep.
They have two decisions. They may have already known that he doesn't have what it takes to be a starting quarterback in their system or with the Vikings. Or B, he needs more time.
Yeah.
So we'll find out clearly what their vision of what J.J. McCarthy is as well.
Yeah, I don't think, and to your point, I don't think Kyler Murray's looking to come to Minnesota to sit behind J.J. McCarthy. He would sit behind a guy like Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's a Super Bowl champion, an MVP, but J.J., this is no disrespect to J.J., but...
Not when he has other options, because he's looking more towards the future. So right now, he's a free agent for a year, but he has his mindset on 2027 as well. But if you think about it, we're not inside the Vikings GM and head coach's brain about what they truly think about J.J. McCarthy. Will this light a fire? Hey, this is going to be our starter, but anything can happen for 2027, or we're going to give him an option for 2027. So that's where the negotiations take place, and that's where the nitty-gritty is, whether or not. So people are saying, hey, if they offer Kyler everything he wants, he'll be signed within 24 hours. Right. That's where we wait and see. Yeah.
Grace asked a great question, and I didn't know the answer to it. I'll pose it to you as an extension of Grace at the beginning of the show. Why did the Cardinals just get rid of him? They're going to pay him all this money. What's with that? They're paying him to essentially not play for the Cardinals?
Well, we all know that there's windows and there's fits with organizations, right? And just from my sources in Arizona, I don't know this to be true. I was told that they question whether he still loved to play football there. And when that bloom is off the rose, sometimes it's hard to get it back.
Sure.
And so sometimes a change of environment is the best thing to do. Do I think the Cardinals think, "Oh, this kid isn't talented"? Not at all, not at all. But sometimes, if someone's not a great fit, I mean, look at Matthew Stafford.
Sure, with the Lions.
Let's just do that.
Yeah.
So you just don't know.
Yeah.
Just like the Vikings let Sam Darnold walk. Sometimes it's a business decision. It's money. It's a fit. It's personalities. It's chemistry. There's so much. It's not just like, oh, this kid is washed up. And no, if not, there wouldn't be the highs and lows that we see in sports.
Yeah. Do you think there will be a disappointment among Vikings fans if they don't sign Kyler Murray?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And that's not a diss on J.J. McCarthy. I just think, over the years, Vikings fans are a little weary. I know we had Kirk Cousins for a long stay, but let me tell you, people today for me are saying, yeah, well, we had Kirk for a while. It's not like we've given up a lot of different quarterbacks over the years. I'm like, well, I've been here since 2004, and I think I lost count at 24 guys who have started at quarterback. So I know Kirk was here and he was great, but everybody dissed Kirk when he was here.
Wait, you've been here since what? So 24 starting quarterbacks in 22 years.
Yeah, if I go back, I might even be missing a couple, but at least starting one game or two, there's been at least 24 starting quarterbacks since I've walked in the door in 2004 that have played for this team. So that's a lot. That's a lot of round robin. I mean, there's injuries that factor into it. There's the unfortunate situation that happened with Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, they've had some tough things that have happened with quarterbacks, but it hasn't been a system like the teams like Green Bay where they have a stalwart and then they bring someone along. That really kind of hasn't been the case. Yeah. So, but I think we're also seeing a shift over the past few years when it comes to rookie quarterbacks and the mindset. Some teams, like I said, you look at the Bears, right? For many years, people were saying, "Okay, Caleb Williams, he's a washout. He's going to be just a bust." No, it takes sometimes a little bit longer. We saw what happened with Drake May. So some people in the J.J. McCarthy camp are also saying, "Why don't you give him that year, where he's fully healthy?" But fully healthy is the question. Right. We've yet to see him fully healthy at first season. So is he a guy that's always going to be injury prone? The Vikings have to also make insurances for that. You can't make it like quote unquote guarantees on that in the NFL. We all know that. But, the future is uncertain for J.J. McCarthy and they have to protect themselves. Yeah.
Do you think somebody like Justin Jefferson, who is the face of the franchise and the number one player on the team, you think he has a little bit of pull in this say about Kyler Murray? I mean, you think they're going to him for you just saying like, hey, can you see yourself with you think he's part of the meetings today? I know we're just speculating.
I don't know if he's part of the meetings, but I do know Kevin O'Connell has a constant dialogue going on with him. And then in years past, Justin in the offseason has not been shy of saying, I want a veteran quarterback. He's not ever been shy about saying that. And he's always kind of been really honest, too, about J.J. McCarthy. Like, my youngin' or whatever he calls him, like that he's young and up and coming. But there's windows in players' careers. There's windows in teams with talent. And the Vikings have that both. They have that double-edged sword where they have a window with their defense, so to speak. I know that Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, they're gone. Jonathan Grenard might be gone. Like it's ever changing, but you also have a small window with just a franchise talent in Justin Jefferson.
Yes.
And you have to hit that spot.
Yes.
And they know that. They don't need JJ's input, Justin Jefferson's input to say, I need someone to throw me the darn ball.
Sure, yeah.
Because Justin Jefferson did the right company line, said everything right this past year. That's not going to fly for two.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
That's not going to fly for two.
I'll tell you what, my opinion, if they get Kyler Murray, I kind of like this team. And I like this offense a lot. And I think they can win the division. I know that that's a bold statement, and the Bears are very good, and the Packers and it's a tough debate. I think they can win the division with that offense. I really do believe that.
I think with that offense, I want to see what they're going to do now to bolster the upfront on defense. I want to see those holes filled. I want to see what happens with Harrison Smith. Is he still going to be around the team?
Yeah.
In terms of, I know that Tavierre Thomas, they signed him, so he's in there at safety. But I want to see some of these holes. Also, corner, I know that we've got some good guys at corner, but I just want to see a couple things on defense solidified because we know we have the horses on offense.
Yep.
We just need someone to throw them the ball.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
What do you think they're going to do with the draft next month? What direction do you kind of see them taking?
They always say best player available, but I just mentioned they've got a whole bunch of holes, right?
Yeah.
They got guys up front, still the perennial, what are we going to do at O-line?
Yep.
I still think they're going to look to the future, too, in terms of another wide receiver 3. What are they going to do at wide receiver and running back? Those are constant things that they're looking for on offense. And then defense, aforementioned defensive line. You have to get some guys that are going to instill fear.
Yes.
In the trenches. Yeah. And so I think they'll be working on that. Jalen Redmond was awesome this year. Yeah. So there's a lot of young talent on the Vikings that I'm really looking to break out for. But I don't think that just because of money-wise, you're going to see big splashes, and then in terms of free agency. And then the draft, there's not a big quarterback talent to pull from.
No. Yeah.
So, I think you strategically try to do that, and I think next year's draft is going to be huge.
For sure.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they hold on to some draft picks or deal for some for next year.
For sure.
So.
I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball here. Have you been watching the World Baseball Classic? I know you love baseball.
Little bits. Joe Ryan is now going to pitch for them.
Yes.
So
they play tomorrow.
Be cool.
They play tomorrow right here on Fox 9. It's a quarterfinal match against Canada, I think 7 Central Time. Yeah. The Americans kind of lucky to get in the position because if Mexico would have beaten Italy yesterday, the USA would have been out.
They would have been out.
Yeah.
So sometimes, it's better to be lucky than good. Sometimes they happen to be both. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. But, I'm just like every other Twins fan. I'm like, Joe Ryan, please don't get hurt.
Right.
Holding my breath, when we saw Byron Buxton kind of get plunked by a pitch. And, they were being safe with him, kept him out a little bit. He seems to be fine. But I'm like, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
As long as players don't get hurt.
That's right. It is glorified spring training, but it's been fun, especially with the different other countries. And Italy's been a nice little storyline here. And you can see how much, especially with a lot of the Latin countries, Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, there's a lot of pride in this.
Huge talent, yes, coming from those places. So it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Awesome. Dawn, thank you so much. Big day for the Vikings. We're going to see how this one shakes out. Maybe we'll have some news here pretty soon about Kyler Murray. It should be a fun story to keep following.
Yeah, let's hope so, and let's hope it breaks at a really good time for us.
Yes, for sure.
Not like 10:35 when we're off the air or something like that.
Right. Are you talking mostly about Kyler Murray during the Fox 9 News this evening?
The earlies, but we also got some other stuff going on. We've got the girls' high school tournament that's going on. Unfortunately, both the men on the ice and the hard court for the Gophers. I heard you saying it before I came on. They lost. And the Wild played tonight. And the Wild are red hot right now. So lots of great things to still talk about. So
yeah.
But Kyler Murray is the number one thing that we're keeping an eye on today.
Is this the women's basketball? Which high school women's tournament's going on right now?
It is the girls' state high school tournament right now. So they're in the semifinals for, I think 3A is just starting. So 1A is just starting a lot of their quarterfinals and stuff like that. But it's the semifinals for 2, 3, and 4A.
Yeah.
And last night, the Greenway sisters, Madden Greenway had 53 points and 13 assists, and her sister on the same team had 25 points, her sister Beckett.
53 points?
Yeah, 53 points. It's not like Bam's 83.
That's a lot for high school ball.
But 53 points.
That's
53.
Crazy. Good for her.
Yep.
Good for her. Awesome. Thank you, Dawn. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to go to break right now, and when we come back, we're going to send it to the Minnesota State House, where the House of Representatives, they're discussing 2 different bills, and we're going to be bringing that to you live as it happens. Don't go anywhere. The afternoon shift rolls on. Welcome back here inside Studio 9 for the afternoon shift. We are about to send it to the Minnesota State House. There are a couple of bills, important bills that the legislators there are discussing. I'm going to bring in Grace Henry into this conversation for some more perspective about these bills. I know she's been tuning into some of the context they've already been talking about right now.
Yeah, so every day the Minnesota House provides like a little bit of an update or like a session preview or something like that. So I was listening to that. I had one ear on that and I was listening to your conversation with Don. But the preview today was all about this bill that would vote to name this solar garden project program after Melissa Hortman, and Representative Patty Acomb. She was the one who kind of filled us in on why this bill was introduced and a little bit about Melissa Hortman's legacy. So Melissa Hortman was very, very passionate, according to Patty, about solar energy and really brought solar energy to the forefront in Minnesota. So this would just be honoring her legacy in that way. And they were saying it's not really about the program, it's more about Melissa. And they are actually, it looks like they are getting started with it. So let's take a listen into the House floor.
Let us pray. God, who is known by many names and in many ways, may your holy presence be among this assembly. To these elected officials, give wisdom as they listen to one another. Give courage as they make decisions on behalf of others. Give clarity as they work toward cooperation and collaboration. When these leaders are weary, give them respite and refreshment. When they are discouraged, build them up in hope and resolve. Help them stay connected to the deep purpose of their work as they serve communities who depend on their leadership. Keep their hearts tender toward the needs of the vulnerable. Keep their spirits strong in the foundation of their values, that all their work may be part of building up a just and peaceful Minnesota in which all may thrive. Amen.
The chaplain for today is Pastor Bristol Redding from St. Luke Lutheran Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk will take the roll.
Got a roll call going there on the House floor right now. You just saw they had a house-wide prayer, and then they just did the Pledge of Allegiance, and they're about to get going with this Melissa Hortman solar garden program bill.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool seeing the process. I feel like I've never seen a House session from start to finish. You only usually see little sound bites and everything. So it was cool to provide that context. But while they get convened and situated and everything, I wanted to bring it back to us so we can kind of talk about what we can expect on the House floor. Like I was saying earlier, the big thing on today's agenda, not that they're all big things, but I think the thing that will most likely, from what I was listening to Patty, seems like will get passed is renaming this solar garden program for Melissa Hortman. As we were both listening to at the beginning of the legislative session, they really kicked it off with a memorial for Melissa Hortman, and Lisa Damath had some really kind words to say. Some other representatives just filled us in on her legacy. So I feel like that's been on everyone's minds throughout this legislative session, remembering Melissa Hortman and honoring her legacy through this solar garden program. So it'll be interesting to hear if who speaks in remembrance of her or how this vote will happen. Because, we were talking earlier today, Adam, we don't know if this will be like a 30-minute process, an hour process, or even just like a 5-minute process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you bring up Speaker Damath's name. We had her here in studio 2 weeks ago today, I believe, right here on the afternoon shift, and she talked very eloquently about Melissa Hortman, their friendship, their colleagues, and talked about, I think the last word she said that Melissa Hortman said to her was, it's just way better when we all get along, or when we all work together. And so that was really great perspective to provide, and hoping that we're going to probably see much of the same here, especially as it pertains to this solar garden program that they're trying to name after Melissa Hortman. And like you said, it was one of her favorite roles during her time as a legislator was chairing the House Energy Committee. So this was something that was very near and dear to the heart of Representative Hortman, and pretty cool to see that she's on the brink of having her name attached to it forever. So
yeah, absolutely. And like you said, they saying that it's better when we all work together. Earlier in the session, there was it passed in the House a bill that would just increase the criminal penalty for impersonating a peace officer, and that was something, of course, that was that kind of happened after everything that happened with the Hortmans and the Hoffman family. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely on everyone's minds, and yeah, because like we're in a what's the word I'm looking? A gridlock, basically, between the House, with it being equal Republicans and DFLers. So, yeah, well, I'll be curious to see, how this goes down. But there are also 2 other bills that are going to be voted on in this next session. If you want to fill the audience a little bit about that.
Yeah, the other one and the second one is about affordable rental housing, supportive housing as it's known. Legislators are discussing grant funding for supportive housing. This has been something that's been kind of at the top of mind, especially with Operation Metro Surge and ICE's presence in the Twin Cities. People trying to find places to live, trying to make rent due. If you were watching the afternoon shift yesterday, or it could have even been the day before on Tuesday, there was a House committee that was discussing about rental assistance programs for people. So rental assistance, rental housing, affordable housing. This has been something that's been at the top of legislators' minds for a while, but especially recently with Operation Metro Surge and kind of the influx of that. So that's going to be discussed immediately following the Melissa Hortman vote / tribute / ceremony that these legislators are gonna provide there. Grace, let me bring you back into the conversation here. Have they started talking on the House floor yet?
They have. It looks like Speaker Dameth has actually begun speaking. So let's listen in and see what she is talking about. It looks like comparison reports is what she's going over. But let's take a listen, and she can kind of fill us in on what's going on.
Yep.
Reports of standing committees and divisions. A copy of this order of business is on your desk and online. If there is no objection, the reports will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the reports are adopted. Second reading of House files.
Second reading, House file number 2185.
Second reading.
Second reading, House file number 3454.
Second reading.
Second reading, House file number 3719.
Second reading.
Second reading, House file number 3741.
Second reading.
Second reading, House file number 3802.
Second reading.
Second reading, House file number 3832.
Second reading. Second reading of Senate files.
Second reading, Senate file number 3623.
Second reading.
Pictures inside the Minnesota State House, inside
the
the House of
following House
Representatives.
files have
Their
been
Speaker,
offered for
Lisa
introduction
Dameth.
today.
They're just kind of going through their normal legislative process here, and we're just waiting for them to really kind of get going and start talking about Melissa Hortman. Just to provide some context, Melissa Hortman, of course, she was the former Speaker of the House inside the Minnesota House of Representatives, assassinated her and her husband last summer. And now there have been all sorts of tributes that have poured out to her since then, really, and now they're trying to name Minnesota's Community Solar Garden Program after her. So that's what we're waiting for in the House of Representatives right now.
Yeah, and this is really fascinating. I mean, I've been really tuned into this legislative session and process over the last couple of weeks, and it really, this is the first time we've been on the floor since the session started. So we've been a part of a lot of different committee meetings in which, there are typically, how many, like 16 representatives part of each committee?
Something like,
Something like that. So this is really interesting to see them all coming together and the whole process from start to finish? Because again, we've been part of the committee meetings.
Yeah, and what we're seeing Speaker Dameth do right now is exactly what we would have seen Melissa Hortman do when she had that Speaker of the or Speaker of the House title, and kind of going through the process with us and everything. So maybe we can kind of tune back in and see what Speaker Dameth is doing, and
Representative Long.
see if they're going to get going here on the Melissa
support.
Hortman
Any further
specific
discussion?
voting.
All those in favor, aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion prevails.
Niska moves that Senate concurrent resolution number 7 be now adopted.
Further discussion? I recognize a member from Anoka, Representative Niska.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. For the same reasons, I urge members to support this motion.
I recognize a member from Hennepin, Representative Long.
Ditto.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails.
Message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following Senate file herewith transmitted. Senate file number 3402. The message is signed Thomas S. Boddern, Secretary of the Senate.
First reading of Senate bills.
First reading, Senate file number 3402.
You're looking at live pictures inside the Minnesota State House right now. We really thought that this bill about renaming the community garden solar program was going to be started right at 3:30. They're going through their usual kind of introductory duties there at the Minnesota House of Representatives. So what we're going to do here is we're going to throw it to commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to keep our eye on that, and we're going to look forward to ahead to the rest of our show here. So stay with us. More to come from the afternoon shift right after this. Welcome back here to the afternoon shift. We are keeping our eyes right now on the Minnesota House of Representatives, and when they get to that honoring of Melissa Hortman, we're going to bring that to you as soon as it happens. But we're going to stay inside the State House. We're actually going to do a little bit of a flashback to yesterday. There was a bill that was being discussed there that would allow nursing homes and assisted living facilities to host happy hours without a liquor license. The sponsor of the bill is Senator John Hoffman. Of course, just some symmetry if you know that name. Senator Hoffman was also, he survived an assassination attempt last year, the same night that that the assassin took out Melissa Hortman and her husband. But this is all about happy hours at nursing homes, and it's a really fascinating thing that kind of went viral on the internet yesterday. Grace, I know our whole team here at the afternoon shift kind of saw this. We were like, we got to make sure we talk about this in some capacity.
Yeah. So what better way to talk about it than to hear exactly what was discussed in a committee meeting yesterday? So we're going to listen to Hoffman's opening remarks about this bill in just a second.
And we got John Hoffman coming up here very shortly talking about happy hours at nursing homes. This is a fascinating bill that's going on here. Let's take a listen in as to what the senator had to say.
I'm here today presenting Senate File 4256. Well, I don't think we need to do this in legislation. However, it is necessary because some recent local government actions with support of a state agency are telling long-term care facilities that they need a liquor license to hold a happy hour type events for residents. I agree, Senator. I have 3 testifiers today and a number of residents from my district in the gallery. But in brief, there is an amendment that would provide a limited exemption to our liquor law for licensed assisted living and nursing home facilities when the consumption of alcohol is for resident activities, basically happy hour for grandpa and grandma. While I appreciate that our liquor laws and regulations are designed to provide oversight, protect health and safety, and establish clear rules for buying, serving, and consuming alcohol, we must also recognize when sometimes government goes a little bit too far. These are licensed healthcare facilities that are already subject to the Minnesota Department of Health rules governing food safety, storage, and service, as long as we'll have other services providing within that MDH world. Also, within the Department of Human Services, there's lots of regulations that need to be established as well, requiring a duplicative regulatory framework yet for another agency and increasing costs for everyone who lives there. This doesn't make sense, Mr. Chair. I understand the Department of Public Safety had concerns, and we appreciate their willingness of the agency and the long-term care associations to continue the discussion on that. I just wanted to let you know that I assure that we and the advocates in supporting of all this change will find a way to be safely doing it reasonably, Mr. Chair.
That was DFL Senator John Hoffman talking about a bill that would allow nursing homes and assisted living facilities to host happy hours without liquor licenses. That hearing had a very fun moment in it, I guess you could say. Anita LeBrun, who testified in favor of the bill, she lives in one of these nursing homes, said she and her friends love happy hour, but don't want to risk slipping out on the ice to buy wine. So she testified in front of the Minnesota Senate. Let's take a listen as to what Miss Anita had to say.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Anita. I am a resident at Amira Choice in Champlin, Minnesota. I am here not just on behalf of myself, but on behalf of the entire community of residents of the assisted living community who are trying to live our lives. Just because we are older and live in an assisted living doesn't mean that we should have fewer freedoms than anyone else. Imagine our surprise when the community we have chosen has to stop coordinating social events that bring us together. My friends and I love happy hour, just like many of you do, I am sure. Over a shared drink, we get to reminisce about parts of our life, military service, raising a family, the loss of a friend, and celebrating the golden phase of our lives too. Allowing our facility to coordinate this happy hour affords us and our families the peace of mind that we can enjoy life, but not be out slipping on the ice to stop and get our box of wine. The staff of our facility have our care and well-being top of mind. They are highly trained and ensuring our safety already. This amendment is simply putting into law what many people assume is already allowed. Happy hour at the place where we call home. Thank you for your time to testify today.
That's got to be the cutest and funniest thing I've ever seen out of any legislative session, whether it's the federal government at the U.S. Capitol or any state house. That was incredible, Anita LeBrun. And she went viral, by the way, yesterday with that testimony that you just saw there. That was absolutely incredible. I think, Grace, I want to bring you into the conversation here before we get to this next representative. I think my favorite part of that is her talking about wine, but just not a bottle of wine. She wants a box of wine. You're only getting a box of wine if you really want to party, I think.
100%. 100%. So I want to air one more part from this committee yesterday where a representative from Lakeville expressed maybe that he wants to attend one of these happy hours. So let's take a listen to that and then we can talk about it a little bit more.
Well played. My only regret is that we might not get invited to one of these happy hours if it gets passed.
He wants to come.
There's an age threshold.
I see how it is. I see how it is. That being said, I just wanted to get it on record, Mr. Chair, that the way that I read this bill, should it ever become a point of contention in the future, is this would allow the great city of Lakeville to expand and have a social district in their downtown area should any assisted living facilities or nursing homes be co-located. So I support this bill all around, and maybe we should expand upon it some more.
Who says you can't have bipartisanship anymore? That's great. You have Senator John Hoffman, a DFL from Champlin, and Senator Zach Duckworth, a Republican from Lakeville, sharing laughs, kind of coming together all over Anita's testimony. This is bipartisanship at work, Grace, in the full degree. I love this. I love everything about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think there wasn't much discussion beyond, there were two other people who testified alongside, and you know, Representative Duckworth's comments. But besides that, that was pretty much the only thing up for discussion. I do think there are some nuances here with this discussion, though. You know, basically, I believe there are some nursing homes that do have liquor licenses, and there are liquor licenses for a reason, you know, and there are, you know, nuances. But again, this is an interesting conversation. I mean, like Anita said, who doesn't love a happy hour? I mean, I love a happy hour. I'm pretty sure you love a happy hour. Sure, but I'll be curious to see, you know, where this bill goes and continues. It is, you know, fun to see the representatives getting along and kind of joking with each other. That is a fun thing to see. And yeah, maybe we'll hear more from Anita as this bill continues. I sure hope we do.
Absolutely. Like I said, Anita was the star of your favorite social media platform yesterday. You may have seen her. She was absolutely fantastic. And again, I just love the bipartisanship of this, sharing laughter, sharing jokes. And you know what? They're right. If some of our elder neighbors want to have a drink, it's way more safe and way more efficient for them to do it within the confines of their building rather than them going to a bar, potentially, like Anita said, slipping on ice, you know, getting into a car, whatever, driving. You know, this is clean, safe, fun for some of our elders that deserve it the most. So I'm in favor of this. I'm sure that there are some people that see some, you know, consequences behind this, and obviously there are some anytime you get alcohol involved in it, and I understand that. Right. But I love the bipartisanship here, and I love the laughter that people were able to share.
Yeah, and Senator Duckworth, Senator Duckworth, he mentioned that Lakeville becoming a social district, and I think that's also an interesting thing that should be talked about more. I mean, I think like the city of Anoka is a social district. I don't know if it's just around the Halloween time or. But it looks like on the Senate floor, or the House floor, excuse me, they're getting started on the bill for Melissa Hortman, so let's listen in.
Let's go.
Who will explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I am honored today to be presenting House File 3556, a bill simply renaming the Community Solar Garden Program after Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman. This is a program that originally passed in 2013 along with the solar standard, when Melissa was chair of the Energy Committee. The program was reformed in 2023 to include goals for low and moderate income subscribers and annual caps. The establishment of the Community Solar Garden Program, or CSG for the cool kids, is a program that increases access to solar for so many. It reflects a bold and practical idea that clean energy should not just be limited to those who can afford rooftop panels or own their own home. It opened doors for renters and small businesses, and it strengthened local economies all across our state. Establishing the program also sent a clear message to the solar development community in Minnesota. Many of the solar developers are up in the gallery today, and I appreciate them being here. They joined us in the Energy Committee hearing for this bill, and their testimony was incredibly moving. They referred to Melissa as their hero, their champion, and the godmother of solar in Minnesota. One testifier shared that she had testified in committee in 2013 in support of the Community Solar Garden Program because it would allow her mom, who then was a renter, to be able to participate in the clean energy transition. Another testifier shared that he came to the Capitol as a young professional. Melissa took a meeting with him. She made time for him, as she often did, and that gave him the confidence he needed to start his business, which is thriving today. Preparing for this bill, I went back and watched the floor debate from 2013 when the Energy Omnibus Bill passed off the House floor. It was comforting to see Melissa in action. And it was fun to see some familiar faces. Steve Simon was presiding over the House that day. Representative Garofalo was, of course, asking questions of the author. Melissa said that her bill was better because some of the information that came from Representative Quam. Aaron Murphy was present, Ryan Winkler, and so many more. This Community Solar Garden Program was one of Melissa's proudest accomplishments. Her bio on social media reads, Speaker, State Representative, and author of the Community Solar Garden Program. She traveled the country and the world, sharing about the benefits of this program, and it's held up as a model for other states to emulate. Melissa was proud of this program, and naming it in her honor is the least we can do to ensure her passion and commitment to distributed renewable energy is not forgotten. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think there are a few others who want to speak to the bill.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House Bill number 3558.
Third reading.
6.
Further discussion to the bill. I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Buck.
Madam Speaker, thank you for allowing me to speak. I didn't have the pleasure of serving with Melissa here in the House, sadly. However, I did have the pleasure of working with her when I was president of my tribe. When she met with us, she met to learn and to actually hear us. And that was something that was not normal for us to have. We built a friendship, and I'm going to try not to cry because I hate being a sap the older I get, so bear with me. I may not have known her as well as some of you, but I considered her a friend. She was a friend not only to my tribe, but to other tribes. She always was a fighter for everyone, regardless of whether you were like her, thought like her, looked like her, or not. But especially not if you were not, she would fight for you. She worked with us and supported us during our net zero bill that we got through the legislature a few years ago. And part of that was the solar garden that we built on the reservation. She was always a champion of us, and I do think that because I didn't get the pleasure of serving with her, even now that this is one small way that I can help honor her in voting yes for this. So Padami Ayepi to all that was part of making this happen, and Padami Ayepi to everyone who will choose to vote for this.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Kraft.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Boy, it's still hard to wrap your head around what's happened sometimes. The first time I met Melissa Hortman was on October 8th, 2018. Before I was involved in politics, or had even considered being involved in politics, I ran a small nonprofit that worked with high school students on climate change, clean energy. And there were two students that went to a Frank Hornstein fundraiser and wanted to speak with then Minority Leader Hortman about things that they were pushing at the Capitol. I remember thinking when I met her how just approachable, unassuming she was, and how much she listened and truly engaged with these two high school students. The last, political substantive conversation I had with Melissa Hortman was about protecting some climate-related legislation that I got passed in 2023. So my relationship with her was bookended with climate-related work. When I thought about speaking about this bill, and thank you, Chair Acom, for bringing this, I thought I would recount some of the comments made in our Climate and Energy Committee by folks from the solar industry when we heard this bill. Minnesota's Community Solar Garden program is truly a national model. Melissa shone brightly, and her legacy shines brightest with regards to a clean energy future. Speaker Hortman was a tireless champion of solar energy. She had a combination of courage and kindness that was unique. I can think of no better way to honor her, and these are all comments made by others. And the Community Solar Garden program changed my life. I want to specifically talk about some comments and stories that Logan O'Grady, the executive director of the Minnesota Solar Energy Industry Association, talked about. Spoke about how their folks have a deep love for Speaker Emerita Hortman, and how their industry is born out of policy. They can point to one person that has created 5,000 plus jobs in the solar industry here. They have many names for her: representative, speaker, champion, fiercest ally, defender, five-star general, and solar godmother. In 2023, they awarded her their Lifetime Achievement Award, an honor that now has been changed and bears her name. At the time, she joked with Logan, saying, "Hey, what should I do? Should I retire now?" But quickly assured Logan she had a lot of work to do. And she did, and still does, and I think that falls now onto all of us. So I urge support of House File 3556.
I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Hollins.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand in support of House File 3556. So most of my colleagues here know that I don't work directly with community solar gardens. In fact, I've actively avoided it because it felt me alone when they were trying to sway me one way or the other. So in preparation for this, I spent a truly unreasonable amount of time looking at old videos and listening to Melissa's speeches when she originally passed the Community Solar Garden bill. I was hoping for some inspiration, some fancy language or a flowery description about the value of solar. And instead, in true Melissa fashion, I found a lot, and I mean a lot, of extremely dry data points about the rationality behind community solar gardens. She also used her floor speech time to provide detailed descriptions of the different companies and corporate entities who were encouraging Minnesota towards an early adoption of solar investment. It was maybe the most boring floor speech I've ever heard. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed. I was seeking words of wisdom from our friend and our leader who's no longer here with us. I wanted a glimmer of insight into why she was pursuing this, or something that might give encouragement to this body going forward. But as I thought about that thorough, technical speech, I could hear Melissa in my head. The legislature isn't about showy floor speeches. It's not about flashy press conferences or even snappy TikToks. It's about doing as much good for as many people as possible. People don't care what you say, people care what you do. And Melissa did a lot during her time at the legislature. But community solar gardens remained one of the most important pieces of legislation that she ever worked on. And why shouldn't it? Since this body passed Melissa's bill, the solar industry in Minnesota has experienced exponential growth, with solar generation increasing more than 150-fold. Minnesota went from 1 megawatt to over 3,200 megawatts of installed capacity, and that was just at 2024. And solar-related jobs increased from 814 to nearly 5,000. It's currently one of the fastest growing sectors in our state. Melissa Hortman didn't just protect our climate with the Community Solar Gardens bill. She helped foster the creation of a whole new industry and promote billions of dollars in investment in the state of Minnesota. It's proof that ambitious and progressive agenda is achievable, and that it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game between idealism and pragmatism. But that was Melissa in a nutshell, believing that big dreams were possible, but not without time, persistence, and a lot of hard work. And maybe just a sprinkling of boring data points also. Earlier this year, we talked often about how a child born today would inevitably be impacted by the legacy of Melissa Hortman, and yet they would never know her name. It's up to this body to make sure that doesn't happen. I wholeheartedly support this bill. LFG.
I recognize a member from Anoka, Representative Niska.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Speaker Emerita Hortman was a fierce defender of the House of Representatives, this institution, and the vital role that it plays in our democracy. And she really understood something fundamental about this chamber and our job. We are the people's representatives. Of every institution in our state government, we stand the closest to the people that we serve and that we answer to. She carried herself with a deep respect, as we heard. Thank you, Representative Hollins, for the boring data points. She carried a deep respect for the seriousness of the work that we do, the responsibility that's entrusted with us by our constituents. And that example is one that I hope each one of us learns from and carries with us with our own service to this great state. So today, as we cast this vote, as we honor her, let's think about her children, her family, and everyone who had the privilege of calling her a friend. And I'm thinking, especially today, myself, about my sister Leah and her husband Daniel, who were friends with who they remember as Missy from Blaine High School. They graduated, I think, a year ahead of her. But one of the last conversations I had with Speaker Emerita Hortman, a side conversation during the negotiations, and as we were working out the budget last year, she was asking about Leah and Daniel, that they were part of the same group of nerds at Blaine High School. So remembering her and remembering all of them today. So members, renaming Minnesota's Community Solar Garden Program in her memory honors not just Speaker Hortman and everyone who knew her, but honors a cause that she championed and cared so deeply about, and honors the institution and the work that all of us should be inspired to carry on. It's a fitting tribute to her legacy and a service to our state. Members, please join me in voting green, appropriately enough, on House File 3556.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Long.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. One of the first places I got to know Melissa was when I was asked to guest lecture in a class that she was teaching on climate policy at the University of Minnesota with former Senator Ellen Anderson. And Melissa took it very seriously. She was deeply invested in the students, and she also got the opportunity to take a bunch of those students overseas to go to United Nations Conference of Party climate negotiations. She took them to Paris in the year that I was involved in her class. She loved the chance to be engaged with her students. She loved the chance to be represented in climate policy on the international stage. And she had her first chance to make a real mark on climate and clean energy in Minnesota when she chaired the Energy Policy Committee in the 2013-14 legislative session. She used to say that it was great being Speaker, but the best job she ever had at the legislature was chairing the Energy Committee. The committee that year had several major accomplishments, but Melissa's two standouts were to help boost solar energy in Minnesota. At the time, solar was a tiny part of our energy mix. Speaker Hortman was seeing the future. She authored the solar energy standard, requiring investor-owned utilities to provide 1.5% of their power from solar by 2020, with a goal of 10% by 2030, and that helped kickstart sustained investment in solar from our state's utilities. But Speaker Hortman's proudest accomplishment was authoring the law to establish a new community solar standard in Minnesota. The idea of community solar is simple. It's to democratize access to solar so that those who can't put solar on their own roof can still participate in owning solar energy. And Minnesota's community solar law was groundbreaking. It put our state on the map for solar and helped grow a solar industry that is still vibrant and now developing solar projects in states across the country. That's meant good jobs for Minnesotans. Until recently, Minnesota led all other states in installed community solar capacity. As was mentioned, Melissa's Twitter profile for many years said, quote, Speaker, Minnesota House of Representatives, author, Minnesota Solar Standard and Community Solar Law. That's how proud she was of this work even years later. And boy, what an impact her two solar laws had. And in true Speaker Hortman fashion, I'm going to get wonky and include some facts. There was, in 2009, just 1 megawatt of solar energy installed in Minnesota. 10 years later, in 2019, there was a whole gigawatt. So what does that mean? To put that in context, Speaker Hortman's 2013 solar energy standard included a target of 450 megawatts of solar by 2020. So a goal that seemed ambitious at the time was more than doubled in reality. Solar energy is now the cheapest energy available, and last year provided enough electricity to power more than 250,000 Minnesota homes. It's so great to have so many solar advocates and friends in the gallery with us for this occasion. Speaker Hortman was as strong a solar advocate as they come. She was on the board of the National Conference of Environmental Legislators for many years. She earned a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Minnesota Solar Energy Industry Association. And I found a quote of hers from 2007 that I thought was worth sharing. Talking about her thoughts on climate policy, Speaker Hortman said, "You have to have a dream. You know, Martin Luther King didn't say, 'I dream that one day kids will be integrated in schools, but workplaces will still be segregated.' He said, 'I have a dream that people will be judged by the content of their character.' And so in the same way in global warming, we have to say, what is the gold standard? What are we shooting for?" Melissa set the gold standard for solar policy, passing bills that have been copied around the country. And she set the gold standard for being an Energy Committee chair, digging in deep on what can already be a very weedy topic. When she first got the gavel in 2013, she did 9 full overview hearings before she heard a single bill. She dug in deep on topics like wind energy, combined heat and power, and more. She wanted her committee to be fluent in energy policy before they started debating bills. Speaker Hortman's solar legacy has benefited our environment with cleaner air, our economy through new jobs and new companies, and our climate through carbon-free energy. It is fitting today that we are recognizing this incredible legacy by renaming one of her proudest legislative accomplishments in her honor. Shine bright, Speaker Hortman.
I recognize the author of the bill, the member from Hennepin, Representative Acomb.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to all of the my colleagues who spoke. I'm going to just share a brief story with you. It's quick. Shortly after Melissa's death, a friend called to offer support and told me a story that stays with me today. They said, "In hard times, we need to stand together, just like a stand of sunflowers, where the supportive group helps share the burden of the wind and strengthens one another. And just like that stand of sunflowers, we need to turn away from the darkness and follow the light." It seems a fitting story today as we discuss renaming the Community Solar Garden Program in honor of Speaker Hortman. Melissa loved both solar and flowers, and she knew we needed to stand together as we do our work for the state of Minnesota. Melissa's favorite color was green. I urge everyone to join me in voting green, and let's light up that board for Melissa.
The clerk will take the roll on the bill.
There you see the board right now inside the Minnesota
The
House
clerk
of
will call the
Representatives.
name of the member,
all
the
these-
names of the
let's
members
listen in.
participating remotely.
Jones.
Okay, go.
Aye.
Jones votes aye. Rarick.
Rarick, aye.
Rarick votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 133 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title is agreed to.
You're looking at live pictures of the Minnesota House of Representatives floor where they just passed unanimously 133 yay votes to 0 nay votes. House File 3556, which is now going to be renaming this the Melissa Hortman Community Solar Garden Program. This is received with bipartisan support. You heard the House floor leader of the DFL party, Representative Jamie Long, and the House floor leader of the Republican Party, Representative Harry Nisha, both talk about this bill and the importance of passing it. You also see, and you can see there right now with Representative Howard, every representative is wearing green in some capacity, whether it's a tie, whether it's a dress, whether it's the button on their shirt. Green, as we just heard, Representative Patty Acomb, who sponsored the bill and authored the bill, she said that Melissa Hortman's favorite color was green. Just to recap, Melissa Hortman assassinated at age 55 on June 14th, 2025. Her and her husband Mark, their golden retriever Gilbert. She is survived by her 2 children. She was a huge proponent of Minnesota's solar program, so much so to the point that she said that her favorite role during her time as a legislator within the Minnesota State House was her chairing the House's Energy Committee. So this was something that was very near and dear to the heart of Representative Melissa Hortman, and now forevermore here in the state of Minnesota, the Community Solar Garden Program will be named in her honor. Okay, the House is also discussing another very important bill. This is House File 3425. It's all about grant funding for supportive housing. Supportive housing is affordable rental housing that includes services which support residents in improving their quality of life. Let's listen in back into the House floor right now.
Reduced interactions with our criminal justice system, improved child welfare outcomes. And so you can see these are not only effective tools to keep people safe, but they're cost-effective strategies as well. As we debate this bill, though, supportive housing providers are facing real fiscal danger. Due to changes at the federal government, midstream of grant cycles, supportive housing providers are at risk of losing the lion's share of their funding due to cuts in their contracts through HUD. This cliff starts as soon as this summer and truly jeopardizes the housing of hundreds, if not thousands, of Minnesotans. So what House File 3425 does is utilize an existing program with the eligible use tweak to provide $9 million, essentially a lifeline to our supportive housing providers, so that we continue to make sure that Minnesota is a place where we're preventing homelessness and providing that space called home. And we ensure that we're not pulling the rug out from Minnesotans that desperately need this amazing housing, again, that is present all across our state. I really appreciate the bipartisan support and discussion we've had from this bill in our Housing Committee and from Co-Chair Igo, and appreciate that we've been able to move this bill forward with urgency. I can tell you it means a lot, not only to our supportive housing providers, but to the Minnesotans who benefit from it all across the state. Wouldn't welcome any questions and encourage a yes vote on the bill.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3425.
Third reading. Further discussion to the bill. I recognize the member from Morrison, Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate this opportunity to talk about something that is transpiring at the federal level and how it relates to Minnesota state budget. As you know, a lot of federal policy changes have been made, and at the same time, we control what we can control here in Minnesota. And before I go any further, Madam Speaker, I wanted to ask, would the author yield?
Representative Howard will yield. Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Howard, in 2023, this legislature passed a historic amount of money into the Minnesota Housing Finance Authority. If I recall, it was over $1 billion that was given to the agency. Could you tell the body how much money from that point up until today, and so to this very moment, how much money is unencumbered by the agency at this time?
Representative Howard.
Thank you, Speaker Demuth. Representative Schultz, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. The lion's share of the $1 billion investment, I'm glad you remember the billion with the B, has been committed to the programs and uses that we legislatively approved. This specific bill, this program, is one of the areas where a program that we funded has not been expended and doesn't have, an active RFP or funds that are committed. So it makes it a strong candidate for this use, and it was for a use with a similar fashion.
Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think that when we consider that we had a $18 billion surplus, we need to know that the money that was allocated at that time, that it was spent for its intended purposes. And if it didn't get out during that 2-year period of time, I am openly asking to the body over the different programs across state government why we aren't ensuring that that money is benefiting Minnesotans, and more so asking the question, if one government program couldn't get the money out the door, what's to say that the next is going to be able to successfully do its intended purpose? And I would really love to know how much money is inside of the Minnesota Housing Finance Authority that's unencumbered at this time, because this seems like one pot of money that has at least $10 million in it. And so would Chair Howard yield to another question?
Representative Howard will yield. Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Chair Howard, do you have an idea or a range of the amount of money that is unencumbered within this agency at this time?
Representative Howard.
Thank you, Speaker Demuth. Thank you, Representative Schultz. As you asked the first question, let's do some quick work over here. Over 90% of the resources have been committed at this time.
Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is critically important to this body. If you heard, members, you just heard that approximately from the 2023 number that there is $100 million currently in that agency that has not yet been spent and is unencumbered at this time. $100 million. $100 million. And when I think about that, Madam Speaker, I think about the needs of Minnesotans and the need for us to make Minnesota more affordable to the people across this state, to ensure that we're doing everything in our power to ensure that they have an affordable way of life. And we know in this body and across this state how we've seen a rising cost to live in our own homes. Our property taxes have been going up and up and up and up to the tune of, this year, 2026, the projection is $1 billion of property tax increases here in Minnesota. And so when we're thinking about how Minnesotans can benefit, we should be working to cut the property taxes of Minnesotans across the board. So when we're thinking about this project right here, a greater priority would be for the people of Minnesota to see $9 million, which is the amount here, returned to the general fund so we can cut our taxes. I oppose this bill.
Further discussion to the bill. I recognize the member from Itasca, Representative Igo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to my co-chair, Representative Howard, for carrying this bill. Proud to be a co-author with you. This bill is about taking care of Minnesota's most vulnerable, plain and simple. That's what this is about. Was mentioned by my co-chair, some of the issues we're having at HUD. I'm optimistic that some of those things are going to get fixed. There's a bipartisan coalition in Congress that's actively working together with HUD right now to get this situation ironed out so we can hopefully fix these contracts, but this is what we can do stateside in the meantime. For members' understanding to know what these programs are, these are the programs for people in our community that are chronically mentally ill, that suffer to stay in housing, that are dealing with drug abuse and alcohol abuse, that need housing and services so they are not in our ERs and in our jails. And I think if every member thinks their district and knows the relationships with law enforcement or knows the community action networks in their community, you know who these people are. The bill in front of us today is to take care of those people. So the work that was done here is we found like and similar money to help stop the gap so that we're not filling up our emergency rooms and we're not filling up our jails with people that just need a help. The services that provide are something that we can all get behind. It's housing with services. So when these people go through hard times, it's not let's get them into housing and leave them be. Let's get them into housing and give them the tools that they need to pick their lives back up. And when members go back to your districts and you hear about this through your providers, they're going to tell you those stories. They're going to tell you stories about single mothers who lost jobs and were struggling and everything fell apart around them. And then a service like this that we're going to help protect today gets them into stable housing, gives them the tools and services they need to find a new job and put their life back together. That's a Minnesotan-type policy, and that's why I'm proud to be a co-author on the bill. And this is the least we can do in the meantime to make sure that Minnesotans step up and we take care of those who are most vulnerable in our communities. I encourage a green vote.
I recognize the author of the bill, Representative Howard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Co-Chair Igo. Members, before a brief closing, I just wanted to respond to a couple points of Representative Schultz that went a little far afield from the bill. I want to be clear that some of the resources that haven't been spent yet are because it takes a while to develop housing. These are dollars committed to build more homes that we absolutely need, to help make housing more affordable. And there's a range of policies that I hope folks on both sides of the aisle can support to help us do just that. I also want to make the point about property taxes. If the folks on the other side of the aisle are concerned about property taxes, I hope you're concerned about the impacts the Trump administration are forcing on mandates in terms of counties that they're telling us are going to raise property taxes up and up and up, as Representative Schultz mentioned. And so there is certainly more work we need to do to make housing more affordable, starting with passing this bill. But in my closing, I wanted to just share the words of somebody who has benefited from this type of housing and speaks to why I think from a bipartisan basis, we should be able to come together and say we need to make sure our supportive housing providers can continue to operate. And it's the words of Daryl. So bear with me. This is Daryl from Red Wing, Minnesota. My name is Daryl, and I'm a proud United States veteran who served my country with honor. After my discharge, life became incredibly difficult. I spent over 6 years homeless in Red Wing, Minnesota. I had no idea that the veteran supportive housing was even available, but thankfully they stepped in and changed everything for me. At first, they got me off the streets by placing me in a motel for a short period of time and then moved me to Maplewood for a year and a half, where I was able to focus on my health and well-being. Today, I am part of a welcoming community. I have a safe place to call home, and I'm surrounded by staff who understand my journey and support me. Now I volunteer and work to give back to the community that has lifted me up. My goal is to help other veterans who are struggling, just like I once was, so they can begin a new chapter in their lives, just like I have. I want to thank Daryl for sharing his story, and I hope you'll think about Daryl as you cast a green vote today. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll.
Here you see the Minnesota State representatives voting on House File 3425. This is about grant funding for supportive housing. This bill has to pass in both the House and the Senate to go forward. So you're seeing a vote taking place right now live. The green means yes, the red means no. Let's listen back in and see what the final tally is.
The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Jones.
Go ahead.
Jones, aye.
Jones votes aye. Rarick.
Rarick votes no.
Rarick votes no.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 103 ayes and 31 nays, the bill is passed and its title is agreed to.
Our government in action. You just saw House File 3425, which is a grant funding for supportive housing. It passed 103 to 31. And so you got to see different representatives debate it. I think at one point we saw two Republican representatives who actually disagreed with each other, both openly speaking about that bill as well. So that was great. And those were two major House files that you got to see pass in the Minnesota State House as it happened. All right, we're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back, there's a local teacher and principal of a school in Faribault that has received an honor directly from Pope Leo XIV himself. We're going to be talking to her. Her name is Gina Ashley. We're so excited to bring her onto the show. She's coming up right after this commercial break. Don't go anywhere. back to the afternoon shift. It's not often that we have a local educator receiving an honor all the way from the Vatican, but that's exactly what's going on right now in Faribault. Gina Ashley, she's the principal of Divine Mercy Catholic School. She's been there for 37 years, with 14 of them being served as the principal. And recently, Pope Leo XIV bestowed on her an honor for her commitment to for Catholic education. And we are so happy to have Miss Gina Ashley on the show right now. Miss Ashley, welcome to the afternoon shift. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Okay, so tell us more. What was this award for specifically?
I was as surprised as anyone else. This award is given to people who have shown dedication to the faith and bringing the faith forward to next generations. So is often given to people in the education field. Mm-hmm. I knew very little about it, honestly, until another principal in our archdiocese, Jane Bona, received it last year. So that's really the first I knew it was even possible to get an award like this.
Very cool. Very cool. What exactly is the award? The physical award? Is it a medal? Is it a certificate? Have you received it yet?
I have not received it. I'm receiving it at the National Catholic Education Association conference, which is happening in April in Minneapolis. It is a medal, which has the papal crest on it, and then a depiction of Saints Peter and Paul on it as well. Has a yellow ribbon, and then it's my understanding a certificate signed by the Pope comes with it as well.
So cool. Something that you'll have for a lifetime. Look, let's talk about Divine Mercy Catholic School, which is your commitment to that school has gotten you this award. You've been there for 37 years. It's not often you see people at the same job site for 37 years. What keeps you coming back every single day?
I jokingly refer to this as my life's work because it is. And I tell my pastor that I've been married to this church and school as long as I've been married to my husband. So what keeps me coming back? There's something just so special about this community. I love the children and their families. I've been here long enough now that some of my past students are sending their children here. And to see the seeds that you plant as an educator take root and see how they flourish in the world is just something that fills me with incredible joy.
Yeah, and you could tell that joy is just brimming from you right now. What would you say is your favorite part about being the principal specifically? You've been at the school for 37 years, the principal for the last 14. What's the best part about that job?
Well, considering I went through my first 23 years in education, I had 8 principals in that time. What's been best for me is just the stability of it.
No doubt.
What I've been able to give to the staff and the students and the families is that predictability, and they know who I am, what I stand for. But every day, honestly, it is the smiles from the children who come here to see them grow. In a year, it's amazing every single year. It's like a miracle that happens in a school.
I love it. As a son of an educator, I totally understand that and get that, and appreciate your commitment to it. Why is Catholic education specifically such a important mission for you? So many of us grew up going to Catholic schools, whether people identify as Catholic or not. A lot of people have been through the Catholic educational system. Why is that mission so important?
2 reasons, really. The first one is I kind of went into the family business. My father was a longtime teacher and coach at Austin Pacelli, which is a Catholic school, and I grew up around it. And he and my mother instilled a great love of our faith, and they passed it on to all 8 of us, many of us who have worked in Catholic schools here in Minnesota. But the other reason is we really believe in forming the whole child. And I don't see how you can do that without the spiritual component. And to me, that adds a component, a facet of education that gives for longer even than reading, writing, and arithmetic do, right? We tell the students every day that our goal is to be more holy tomorrow than we are today, and to how does that happen in our world? By serving others, right? And so this is a service to me. It's a mission and a ministry.
Yeah, I could still hear Sister Mary Ann's words from when I was a grade school kid back in Nashville speaking to me there when you're talking to me. So that's excellent. Okay, look, so you're going to get this award next month at this Minneapolis conference. Do you think that there's a chance, Gina, that you're going to get to have your own audience with the Pope maybe in Rome?
You know, he's a pretty busy man, so I don't think so. Actually, I'm just in awe thinking he actually has read my name on a piece of paper.
Sure.
That to me is very cool. But our own Archbishop Bernard Hebda will be giving me the award, and I couldn't be prouder. He is a wonderful leader in our archdiocese, and I've actually been blessed to work with both of his auxiliary bishops, Bishop Kevin Kenny and Bishop Michael Eisen, both of which who have served here in Faribault at Divine Mercy.
Yeah, and Bishop Kevin Kenny has been on our show multiple times too, and he's a friend of mine. So that's
wonderful
excellent.
Man.
Yes. I'm probably mispronouncing it because I don't speak Latin fluently, but the Pro Ecclesia et Pontifex Award translates for church and pope, and it's now in the possession of you, Gina Ashley. Congratulations on this amazing accomplishment. Thank you so much for everything that you do. And like I said, just on a personal note, as a child of Catholic education, I think it's just so awesome what you're doing up there or down there, I should say, in Faribault. So keep it up, and congratulations to you, and much success to you in Divine Mercy School.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you. That was very pleasant. Congratulations again to Gina Ashley. All right, we're going to throw it to commercial break. And when we come back, I believe Grace is going to join me here inside Studio 9, and we're going to be talking a lot about Women's History Month. I think she's picked two ladies to profile for this month. So we're going to get Grace in here and talk all about Women's History Month, which is celebrated throughout the entire month of March. Don't go anywhere. The afternoon shift continues right after this. Welcome back here to the afternoon shift. Grace, you're here inside Studio 9. It's good to see you here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all over today.
You are all over today. You were cutting the show for the first half. Now you're here. You were listening to different House hearings and whatnot, and switching in between them. You can truly do it all.
I'm every woman, but no, it's fun. I love being back in the control room, and I love being here. Everything, it's all fun.
Yes. Some might call you a Renaissance woman.
Oh,
so,
a Renaissance woman. I don't know about that. That's a very high praise, but thank you.
A Renaissance woman here in the month of March, Women's History Month.
Happy Women's History Month.
Happy Women's History Month.
This is so fun. I mean, I know we did this for Black History Month, and it's fun that I can profile a couple women that are notable specifically for Minnesota. So I guess we can go ahead and get started.
Let's do it, yeah.
Yeah, so the first woman I want to highlight, her name is Nellie Griswold Francis. Now, I had never heard of her. I was doing some research to kind of find some people that I had never heard of, but she was born in 1874, actually, in Nashville.
Okay.
So, you know, she has some roots back there.
Yes.
And moved to St. Paul in the late 1800s, around like 1885. Yeah. She was the first graduate, black graduate of the St. Paul High School that she attended. Oh. Not only was she the first Black graduate, she was the first she was the valedictorian.
Yes.
So how amazing for her. And that was in 1891. Like, incredible. Absolutely incredible. And even in her speech, she addressed racial inequality, and just showing that she wasn't afraid to steer away and talk about it. And of course, you know, the early 1900s were when women's suffrage movement was really gaining traction. Yes. And she became a part of it, and she even created her own club that was, or she was a co-founder, that was really geared to making sure that women of color had a voice throughout the whole process, and making sure that they were not being left out. And in 1920, of course, women gained the right to vote, and in Minnesota, Black women also gained the right to vote. So in some states, unfortunately, Black women were not allowed to, but in Minnesota they were. And just throughout her life, after the women's suffrage movement, she really turned her sights onto preventing lynching. So in 1920, Elias Clayton, Elmer Jackson, and Isaac McGee were lynched in Duluth. And so she was very passionate about this, of course, and drafted Minnesota's anti-lynching bill, which actually was passed in 1921. So she just, throughout her entire life, was advocating for civil rights and women's political participation. And yeah, she was just a pretty remarkable woman, and I hadn't learned about her. So I was excited to learn a little bit more and highlight her, because she was a pretty cool, awesome woman.
Yeah, Nellie Griswold Francis.
Yep.
Not somebody that I feel like you hear about in the history books, but has made a really profound impact nationwide, but specifically here in the state of Minnesota. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, she made a really great mark, and I hadn't heard of her, and I hope you know, we continue to talk about her. But
for sure.
And then I wanted to feature someone who's a little more current. She's still alive today. Her name is Ann Kim. Have you heard of Ann Kim?
Ann Kim. I feel like that's a name I've heard of before, but yeah.
So she's big in the restaurant industry in Minnesota, in Minneapolis specifically. She currently has 2 restaurants open. Hello Pizza.
Okay.
And that is, oh my gosh, I can't remember if it's in Minneapolis or Edina, but it's right on the border either way. And then Pizzeria Lolo, which is
I've
in
heard of that,
Edina.
Yeah.
And she's had some other restaurants that have opened and closed, but I'll provide a little bit of backstory on her. She is an immigrant from South Korea. She moved here when she was 4 years old and grew up in Apple Valley. And she went to Columbia University by the wishes of her parents, who wanted her to pursue, you know, a very prestigious academic journey. But after she graduated, she decided to pursue acting. And she acted for 8 years. She was a part of the Guthrie in some productions. And she actually lost touch with her family a little bit during that time, because they didn't necessarily respect her pursuing theater. But for whatever reason, she stopped pursuing acting after about 7 or 8 years and decided to become a restaurateur. Without having any restaurant experience, she had never been a chef. She had never been a server. She had never been a hostess. And she decided to open Pizzeria Lola in 2010, I believe. Yep. And for those of you who don't know, Pizzeria Lola is probably one of my favorite restaurants in the Twin Cities. I have talked to you about it.
Yeah.
They have, your normal like margarita style pizzas with sausage and everything, but she also has Korean style pizzas. So she has like a kimchi pizza.
Sure.
She has a bulgogi pizza, which is Korean beef. It is so good. And then she also had a restaurant that this was actually my favorite restaurant. It was called Young Joni. It was in Northeast Minneapolis, and it was phenomenal. And it actually was named Restaurant of the Year by the Star Tribune in 2017, and unfortunately closed last year. And I was very sad. It was very hard to get a reservation there in the last month of it being open, but I was able to secure one and get one last pizza. And yeah, I mean, it was so good. But then in 2019, this is probably the most notable point of her career, she won the James Beard Award. And she was the first woman from Minneapolis to win the award, but also the first woman of color to win the award. So it's a really big deal. Best chef in the Midwest. And yeah, it just shows like her legacy. And, one thing that I love is that she incorporated a lot of her Korean heritage and culture into the foods, but also it was pizza. So I love when you're able to have a really awesome fusion of different things. And through different people in her life, she was able to name some of her restaurants after the people that she cared about. Like one of her restaurants is called Suki and Mimi that closed. Suki was her actual Korean grandmother that, inspired her like Korean roots and Korean dishes. But then Mimi was her white adopted grandmother that helped her her family with their visa and their citizenship process when they moved here and helped her assimilate to American culture. So I just thought that was really cool.
So cool.
That restaurant's no longer open, but she's just a powerhouse in the restaurant industry. All her food is absolutely delicious. We all have to go and try it, actually.
I am calling for a team dinner at Pizzeria Lolo. It's probably not even that far from here.
It's not far at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, she was just super cool. So yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about these two awesome women.
Well, thank you. That was just very well said, well produced, very informative. And two people, Nellie Griswold Francis and Ann Kim. I had never heard of either one of them. Nellie Griswold Francis obviously made huge strides last century, but Ann Kim, how about that? Doing big things in the Twin Cities right now.
Absolutely.
And finding ways to incorporate her Korean heritage into her love and passion of cooking. And such an interesting career, Ivy League and then acting and then now restaurants.
I didn't know until I was doing research. I knew I wanted to profile her because she's just awesome and I love her food. But yeah, I mean, how cool that she performed in the Guthrie.
I want to go to Pizzeria Lolo and get one of the Korean Korean
pizza.
beef.
You gotta
yeah,
try
yeah,
it.
yes,
You
yeah,
gotta
yeah. That
try
sounds
it.
amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Grace, well done, well done.
Oh,
Happy
thank you.
Women's History Month.
Thank you.
Let's be sure, and Paul's listening. I know. Let's be sure to do this again next week or sometime. We should do this again. This was really good. So good job, Grace.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Awesome. Thank you. More to come from the afternoon shift afterwards. Grace, we were looking at the cameras from across Minnesota. It looks like there's snow in Minneapolis right now.
It looks nasty outside.
It looks horrible.
Awful.
It looks horrible.
Awful.
Brighten our days, Paul. What do you got?
Well, after the last segment, I just wanted to ask you a quick question. Mentioning suffragettes, do you know which country in the world was the first country to allow women to vote, to give women the vote? This is a little tease ahead to our quiz for tomorrow.
I gotta guess.
You have a guess? I feel like it's like a Scandinavian country.
Australia, that's my
Oh.
guess.
It's not Australia, actually. Australia, the second, South Australia, which was a British colony at the time, was the second sort of place that gave the rights. The first is not too far from that neck of the woods. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, from New Zealand?
New Zealand was the first country in the world
Wow,
that granted all women the right to vote in 1893. There you
Well,
go.
good on you, New Zealand.
Yeah, shout out to our neighbours across the ditch from, well, not really here, I guess.
In 1893, I mean, good on you, New Zealand, but that's still like 18. I would have thought it would have been earlier than that for the first country.
I
but
mean,
no,
women in the U.S. have only had the right to vote for about 100 years. That's crazy to think about.
It is because
crazy to think about.
we're born into a world in which we don't even think twice about it. But yeah, that is crazy.
And I'd have to throw the caveat in there. There are some Scandinavian sort of examples that exist where some limited allowances were made. But this New Zealand is generally considered to be the first nation to do it universally. So there you go.
There it is. There it is.
Cool.
Speaking of Women's History Month, we got Kelsey and Simone at the desk for the Fox Eye News at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. I mean, lots of news out of the Capitol today. I mean, stop with the legislative session, but
Yes.
yeah.
Well, they're going to do this